Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I bow to my Guru in all forms and to the Infinite One in you. I would like to read this morning. It's this morning for me, but you'll be probably seeing it also in the evening because I'm on 2 channels, morning and evening. My Guru said, in relation to not just wanting goody-goody disciples or yes men, he said at the same time, some people, when you call them, mutter groggily, "Don't bother me, I'm sleeping." Others, if you shake them, stretch their arms a little and even sit up. But the moment you turn your back on them, they fall back to sleep again. The kind I like are those who, as soon as you call them, leap up, fully awake and ready. That is why I challenge my audiences. How is everybody? Awake and ready, they reply. God won't reveal himself to spiritual sleepyheads. Because that's a short saying, and the next one ties in well with it, I'd like to read also, this is 228. It is, of course, bad karma that takes people back to the world. God gives everybody a chance, however, to snap the karmic bonds. You can do it. Everyone can. The problem is, so few make the effort. Too many people want God to do it all for them. Like that story that I've told of this brother disciple of mine from Bengal who was light-minded. My Guru scolded him. He said, "You keep the others always in a restless state that way." And the disciple answered, "Well, I know it, Master, and I know it's a fault and I want to change, but how can I do it without your blessings?" And Guruji answered him, "My blessings are there already. God's blessings are there. It is your blessings that are lacking." You see, if somebody wants to pour out a cup of tea for you, but you have the cup turned upside down, he won't be able to do it. And if our hearts are not receptive, then God and Guru will not be able to come in. So really speaking, your effort is primarily making yourself open to their inflow, to their blessing. As my Guru said to somebody, "As long as you keep me out, how can I come in?" And Jesus Christ said something similar in the book of Revelation. He said, "I stand at the door and knock, and those who open, I will come in and sup with them, and they with me." But to open the heart is what is meant. You should open your heart to God, and he will lead you to a guru, or first of all, he leads you to books, and then to lesser teachers, and finally to the guru. When I speak of my guru, he is somebody who has left the body. And people say, well, then you can't have a guru if he isn't living. And my answer to that is one that he himself gave, that he, as he said, those who fall by the wayside, my devotees will pick up. He does have to work through channels as long as we are in this world. You can, certainly in my effort as his disciple, is to bring you gradually to the point where you feel more and more in tune with him. But I can help you with that. If you don't want my help, that's fine. But I offer that. And the point is that we cannot really do very much without God's help, because the truth is we can't do anything without God's help. We can't breathe, we can't think, we can't walk. Everything is God. All the energy we use, all the consciousness we use to think, all the wisdom we use to understand, it all comes from him. He is the doer in everything. But he has so arranged it that none of us can sit back and let him do it. That was my brother disciple's fault, which my Guru tried to correct when he said that your blessings are needed. Your blessings imply primarily opening yourself up to receive, but even in the receiving, You have to do. Because if you say, well, I'm open to you, just fill me, it doesn't work that way. It's really as if God came in and the divine blessings come in through the back door. You have to do the effort. You have to make your house clean. You have to unlock the door. All these things are absolutely the spiritual path in a nutshell. But this means, of course, that kindness to other people you have to express. But the more you express His kindness through you, rather than saying, I am the one expressing kindness, the more pure that vibration of kindness will be. When you want to explain something, I have seen again and again in my life that when I tried to figure it all out by myself, it didn't work nearly so well, and usually I have to say that because I have tried to express truth, it didn't work at all. Because you can't put truth together. You can't figure it out. But you can open your mind up and ask that question. I've said this before, it's well worth remembering. God gives you blessings and gives you His grace according to the kinds of questions you ask. If you are a mathematician, God is not going to think, well, I happen to be in a musical mood today, so I'll give you a melody. What would a mathematician do with a melody? Unless he's a musician also. God answers, in other words, according to your particular, the path that you have opened up. And usually that means through whatever talents you have. I remember when I was a very young disciple in the ashram, we were building a new building. It was at India Center. And it was all hands on deck. So Master had me there helping also. Well, I don't think that I have opened up a channel as a carpenter because I was not very good. In fact, I was horrible. I would hit at a nail 9 times before finally hitting it, and often when I did hit it, it would go in crooked. And I remember when I was trying to build Ananda in the beginning, I had a few friends working with me, but I finally had to admit that it just wasn't my métier. And I remember on that job when I was a young man, and at the end of the job, I said to the foreman, Andy, I've certainly learned a lot on this job. He looked at me and he wasn't able in his integrity to say anything. Well, I think I must have learned something, but it wasn't anything compared to what he was expecting of workers. In other words, that isn't a channel that I have opened up. That doesn't mean that I look down on people who have opened it up. I greatly respect them for having a skill that I don't have. But really, why not work with what you've got and develop that? I've noticed that some people, for instance, I used to know an old woman, not that old by compared to me, but let's say 65 is old by most people's standards. And she had decided that she wanted to become perfect. And to become perfect, she had to become a millionaire. Well, that's simply ridiculous. At the age of 65 to want to be a millionaire, and what is that in the way of perfection, even once you've done it? Yes, if you have the skill to make money, you can use it, and it may help you to develop, especially if you use that skill to help other people, to teach other people, or also trying to develop the same skill. But making money is by no means a talent that necessarily will take you to God, nor, I have to say it, is any talent. I have a certain gift as a poet and a composer and a writer. I don't think that's going to take me to God. I'd be foolish to think so. But if I offer it up to God and use those talents to try to help people to feel more in tune with God, well, that's the right way to use your talents. So what you should do, as I do when I write a song, I don't sit back and say, well, God, give me a melody. Why should He answer such a vague request as that? You must be fully awake and ready, whatever you do. Your whole mind has to be there. And when it comes to writing music, I need to have a very clear idea of what I want. And that doesn't mean I'm telling God what to do. I'm saying I want a melody that expresses, let us say, devotion or sadness or joy or whatever it might be. Like one time, I was in the mountains and I was driving back. At that time, I was staying with my parents, and they were waiting supper for me, and so I wanted to get there early enough. And I was driving through a blinding rainstorm, and I was getting more and more frustrated because I could hardly see 50 feet ahead of me with the windshield wipers going like this, and I was feeling more and more frustrated. And suddenly I thought, well, if I can't have good weather outside, why not just create good weather inside? Well, that was a clear enough prayer. And so suddenly the song came to me, there's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. And the song goes on and becomes more meaningful by showing that we really find joy when we give up attachments and give up desires. But God wouldn't have given that unless I had asked for it. And I didn't really ask him at that time. I was chanting to him in my mind. But when I said, let me create good weather, of course I held that thought up to him. It came just like that, words and all. Well, that's what I mean. And whatever your skill, it may just be something very mundane. But if you give it to God, if you see what God can do through you to inspire other people and to inspire you, you have to be inspired if you're going to bring any inspiration to other people. Then you will find that you not only become good at your métier, whatever it might be, your skill, but it also takes you closer to him. We need to be channels, but it would be foolish for me to say, well, I'm imperfect as a carpenter, therefore I must learn to be a good carpenter. It'd be a waste of time. What little skills I have, I offer them to God, and I find that they are enhanced. And I don't say at all that anything that I've done is really all that worthwhile, except that it has given me joy. And some people say that it has given them joy. I'm grateful for it. But to me, it means nothing, because the greatest work in the world, a warrior who can conquer kingdoms and become a ruler of many countries, what does it mean? In the end, you've got to leave it all anyway. But the thing is that when I write music, and this is only an example, then I don't have to worry, is it right or is it wrong? Because I know it's right. I never wrote music, but if Mozart himself were to come and say, well, I think this chord ought to be that one, I would say with all sincerity and humility, no, this is what I feel that I'm trying to express through this song, and what God is trying to express through me. Now, to have that kind of attunement requires also that we listen. I have to not say, God, this is what I want. I have to say, God, this is the direction I hope that your inspiration will take me. That's quite different. If you're a carpenter, then let God show you. You'll find that even though the rules are perfectly simple, although I'm not able to follow them, but somehow if you try to tune into his guidance, you will see that there is something, some works of art just thrill you and you don't know quite why. I'm certain it's because their consciousness was right. And certain pieces of furniture, they just are right. Whatever you do should be right for what you're doing. And it can be anything. But if you think of God and ask him to show you, there was, I did our symbol for our Ananda communities is, I've got to do it backwards, so sort of like that. Because I'm doing it backwards for the camera, I'm not sure I'm adept at that. Leonardo da Vinci could write two different things with two hands, one going backwards and the other one going forwards, and he could read it as if in a mirror. That's the level of writing and ability I don't have. I can't even picture this thing backwards. But the point is that after I did it, I tried to get many people who were artists to do a good symbol for Ananda, and none of them fitted. They weren't what I felt was right. And so then I meditated, and suddenly this image came to me. Well, I had to do that very simple image more than 70 times before I could say, yes, this image expresses joy. Now you tell me how a simple squiggle on a page can express joy. I don't know, but I know that it did. So even abstract art, everything you do has some kind of meaning. Don't think that the modern belief that meaning in the art is useless it's not true. Don't think it's true. You have to, mind you, you can do an abstraction and still it can express the divine. You know, one of the wonderful examples that I have seen is the Islamic art, because they were forbidden by their religion to imitate nature. Well, they put a few flowers in, but they basically have developed geometric patterns that are absolutely beautiful. You would think that people so constricted would be unable to produce art at all, what to speak of beautiful art. But much of their art is really beautiful. I think, in fact, that being constricted made it possible for them within that narrow framework to create much more than I have seen artists and composers and writers do since the 20th century, in the 20th century and now, who don't seem to have any sort of sense of direction because they sort of think they can spew everywhere. Another essence of letting God work through you is to be not just vague and passive, but fully concentrated on what you are doing. You must give it your entire attention. So now, what we need to do is ask, what is life really about? What are we working for? Why am I doing art or carpentry or business or any of the myriad things that people do? If you put your vibrations into it, mind you, it'll be your vibrations because God will use you as his filter. That's just the nature of things. And just as through a glass, if the glass is colored, the sunlight will seem red or blue or green. So also you, if you are in tune with him and he flows through you, will have to use you as his channel. That's just the way it is. But try to ask him, do ask him, guide me. Otherwise, what is your life for? That is what this song says too. Joy to you.
What is it for? Walking alone, alone. What is it for? Walking alone, walking alone. Must our paths ever be like the winds on the sea? Oh, walking alone. What is it for? Singing alone, alone. What is it for? Singing alone, singing alone. Must our songs ever be like the winds on the sea? Oh, singing alone. What is it for? Laughing alone, alone. What is it for? Laughing alone, laughing alone. Must our joys ever be like the winds on the sea? Oh, laughing alone. What is it for? Living alone, alone. What is it for? Living alone, living alone. Must our lives ever be like the winds on the sea? Oh, living alone. Oh,